This is Robyn Nelson with Wrestle Popcast with my guest host,
David Stockwell from DemoBlastStudios.com, along with our extremely special guest today,
Pillman Jr. How's it going, Brian?
It's going great. We're here at Fort Wayne, Indiana at Heroes and Legends, and it wouldn't be a Heroes and Legends convention without a legend in the making, such as myself. So what are you guys thinking about doing today?
Coming to see some great wrestling action.
All right. Well, if you want great wrestling action, do not look behind you because you're not going to find it inside Ed. Because
is that Ed Gonzalez?
Bloody Ed Gonzalez. Always crashing the party. Always crashing the interviews.
Now, tell us about you being part of the new Hart Foundation and part of Major League Wrestling.
Major League Wrestling is definitely the forefront of my career right now. It's where I'm putting all my talents, and I think the most of those talents are derived from Teddy and Davey Boy's intensity and their ability to get in my head and teach me how to be a true top level wrestler. And so through them, I'm just going to get better each day, each week, and every month you're going to watch us on MLW.
We also bumped into you at StarCast and All In Chicago. What was that like for you?
StarCast was phenomenal. Just like the energy here at Heroes and Legends, just such a high energy of old school stars and up and coming rising independent stars. Everybody, there's so much versatility in the business today. Everybody's getting over in their own way, and clearly it's working because there's so many fans. There's more wrestling fans than there's been in 20 years. So we're doing really good right now.
You also been on fire everywhere in the Indies. So far, what's your memorable moment?
I will say I've had quite a few moments that really made me, go, oh wow, like that's cool that I'm a part of this. I think one of the greatest gifts I was given early in my career was able to wrestle Matt Sydal. That was a huge moment for me, and one of my first matches, my fourth match ever, being with Joey Janela, and I wish him the speedy recovery as he's recovering from his knee. But yeah, getting to work with these people who are just leaps and bounds and years ahead of the game, and they're the reason why the business is in a good place right now on the independents.
You know, Brian, when I first met you, which I think was a few years back, young guy, good-looking young guy, little shy, a little quiet, but you had a look.
Yeah.
When I first saw you in the ring, just natural, God-given athletic talent. When I saw you at that point, I thought to myself, athletically is great, but talk-wise, I don't know. But man, over especially the last year,
yeah.
your talking has, I mean, you're killing it on the mic, man.
Yeah.
And obviously your dad being a great talker, I would assume was a huge influence. But outside of the great late Brian Pillman, who are some other individuals in wrestling who you look to, who you've studied from a microphone standpoint to help improve your game? Because legit, man, your mic game has improved tenfold, no question about it.
Yeah, thanks. And when it comes to the microphone work, it's hard not to look back at the Brian Pillman. I mean, I was just watching his Stampede Calgary stuff last night, and it's like, his first run in wrestling, and he was already a natural. He was already, looking at the people, really getting them fired up with his charisma, with his talking. But I like to look at what Ric Flair's done. I like to look at even Steve Austin, really emphasis on the diaphragm and really just exploding with sound and exploding with energy and just really believing in what you're saying, because that's what makes wrestling so special and so real, is because we truly do believe what we're saying and what we're doing in that ring.
Speaking of Steve Austin, obviously you were featured on Steve Austin's podcast. Talk about, had you met Steve before, or was that the very first time that you've actually had communication with him?
Yeah, so as an adult, I have had communication via phone calls and Twitter messages and of the like, and of course I met him when I was a child, but I have yet to meet him in person in my adult life, so it was kind of cool to do a face-to-face Skype with him. Very down-to-earth dude. I'm sure he wouldn't mind going out of his way to bring me over to his house sometime if we wanted to do an episode 2, being that maybe I'm booked out in LA or something. So, no, it's super down-to-earth, and I always appreciate stars like him, guys like Jericho, giving me a platform to share my story. So.
I got another question for you too. You're going to be at Battle on the Border as well. Can you tell us about that?
Well, Battle of the Border, December 22nd. It's inching around the corner. Very excited for that match. I'm going to get to face someone who I've looked up to for a long time in Chase Owens, someone who is in the Bullet Club, someone who's been there and he's had quite his fair share. But I think it's my turn now. I think it's my turn to put on the Bullet Club colors and show him who really belongs.
That's going to be an interesting match to see. Very intense.
Yeah, very intense.
Brian, we thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule here today. The fans here are lining up to want to meet you, to get pictures. The legacy of your dad is definitely carried on, and you've picked up that torch, successfully picked up that torch and continue to move forward. And having guys like Steve Austin and Jericho in your corner speaks volumes about not just their appreciation for their friendship with your dad, but also about you as a human being and continuing on that legacy. Moving forward here into 2019, what is, as we wrap up the interview here, what's a personal goal or goals of yours coming up in the new year? What can we look forward to seeing from Brian Pillman Jr.?
I got to keep some things secret, right? I can't give away all my plans and goals, right? Because you never know. My path has been somewhat unpredictable so far. I didn't expect things to blow up as quick as they did, but hopefully you'll see me in another country in 2019. I'm not going to say which one, but there's a few different countries that are wanting to bring me in and perhaps train or perform. So anything, I'm welcome to anything, any new experience, any new training. I've only been wrestling for since December 31st. I had my first match, so there's definitely a lot of loose ends to pick up and places to go and people to learn from.
One more last question before you get off. When you were training, what was it like to train with Storm?
It was really interesting. It was a great time, a very safe style of training, very Canadian style. I watched back some of my dad's old Stampede films, and he's doing a lot of the same stuff that we learned on day one. So it's really a good foundational light style that you can really, and then you can add on. You can add the bells and whistles. So if you're looking for a beginner, the first crash course of wrestling to get you started, clearly I went there, so it must be pretty good school if I went there, right? So go to Lance Storms if you're looking to become a wrestler.
All right, thank you so much for taking your time coming on.
No, thank you guys. You guys are my friends, so anytime.
And thank you for listening to Wrestle Popcast.